Masinya Attorneys Incorporated, a boutique commercial and taxation law firm in mid-range Johannesburg, South Africa. Strategic lawyers on point with more than 20 years of practice experience. We are professional, capable, and qualified.
Hello, my name is Lindy Sherries and I used to be a Sangoma. In this channel, I talk about everything, guys. Abokorobela, the secrets that we were taught not to share with you guys, how we used to trick you guys, the spirits, how everything works when you go to a Sangoma for consultation, Yamatambo. So whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, please check out this channel so we can talk about it. If you believe in God, let's share the gospel. If you don't believe in God, you can check out the channel too. I want to hear your opinion and I want people to actually share their opinion, not insulting me without saying why. Thank you, and I'll see you on my channel.
As a church leader, your time and resources are limited. It's difficult to find discipleship and Bible study materials that are affordable, easily accessible, and high quality. But there is a way to equip the people in your church every day of the week without losing sleep. Welcome to Right Now Media, the world's largest library of video-driven Bible study resources, used by more than 20,000 churches, schools, and organizations. With a Right Now Media subscription, everyone in your church can access thousands of biblical resources for kids, couples, small groups, and more. Give your members access to great content, anytime, anywhere, on any device.
And God specifically says, the way you think, that's not the same way I think.
Equip and inspire everyone in your church beyond Sunday.
Hey, good to see you again. Thank you for being here in Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Designer Shams, and it's good to join you this great Sunday to look into an issue that was just making headlines across the world today. Thank you. Wherever you're watching, wherever you are, I thank you. Some people are watching in the US. Some people are watching out across the continent of Africa. Some people are watching up in Europe. Thank you so much from Ghana, Edom. Great to have you here. Bongani here saying hello to Bereans, and also Miriam from Zambia. Great to have you here. And Mosima here saying shout out to all the Bereans. Thank you, everyone who is out there watching. Please make sure you subscribe to this video and also make sure you check out all the other videos that we have here. There are other great videos that we've made before now. Please check them out. I'm sure they're going to be a blessing to you. I quickly want to share about the Hillsong founder stepping down as the global pastor of Hillsong. His name is Brian Houston. We know him, Pastor Brian Houston. We all know Hillsong, isn't it? From Hillsong worship. We know Hillsong to be on the cutting edge in the last 20 years. In so many different ways. A lot of you guys have enjoyed Hillsong worship like this. So many different songs that we sing in churches across the world. This church started in Sydney, Australia, about 30 years ago. I've been to Hillsong, the church, once in Sydney, Australia. So, and it has grown. They have meetings like this, with huge crowd, lights, and everything you can think of. So they've been around, and the music side of things have really helped their church to grow. Hillsong United, Hillsong Worship, Hillsong Kids is still very, very popular. This is also one of their meetings at the church in Sydney. And they now have branches all across the world, in New York, in Texas, in Los Angeles, in Cape Town, in Ukraine, so many different places, right? So this church, as we know, was founded by Brian Houston and his wife a couple of years ago, maybe about 30 years ago. But a lot of people do not know that Brian Houston is actually a second-generation pastor. What does that mean? It means that he wasn't the first pastor from his line of the family. His father, I think his name is Frank Houston, he was the first. So his father was a pastor also. They all started from the Assemblies of God Church. So he grew up in the Assemblies of God. His father was a pastor at the Assemblies of God. Even when he started Hillsong, Hillsong though was sort of like independent, but it was still affiliated to the Assemblies of God church, I think until about 15 years ago. So his father was a pastor at the Assemblies of God church. Now what happened was in the 70s, his father was said to have played around with certain boys. When I say play around, you know what I mean. When an adult is playing around with boys, touching them where he shouldn't touch them, doing to them things that he shouldn't be doing to them. You know what I mean? So that happened in the 70s, right? But it only came out in the 90s. And when it came out in the 90s, Brian Houston, who is the global and pastor and the founder of Hillsong Church, was the first to know about it. So that was where the whole issue started. So he said he knew about it, and then he told Assemblies of God Church, he told all the relevant people and reported it. But now the authorities and the police, they have been investigating. Remember, these cases happened in the 70s, right? That's why pastors and prophets and apostles, they need to be careful. You might have done something wrong in the 80s. It's going to come out. This happened in the 70s. He wasn't the one involved directly. It was his father. But you see, in Australia, it's criminal for you to withhold certain information from the investigation, a criminal investigation that is going on. And that is what he's being charged with now. And he isn't just being charged with it. He's been charged and he's been investigated. And the police felt solidly that he withheld a lot of information, and he didn't do everything right in reporting his father. So right now, he's not just being charged, he's going on trial. So today, he released a statement. Let's go through the statement that was actually released. It's a sad story, you know, and you just pray and hope that the truth will come out one way or the other. So this is a statement that was released today, because today, Sunday, he stepped down as the global pastor. He used to be the global pastor, so he's the pastor that oversees all the Hillsong churches across the world. But now he's stepping down to deal with his trial, which is starting very soon. This is what they said. So Hillsong founder Brian Houston has announced he is stepping down as a leader of the church as he defends criminal charges that allege he covered up his father's. You can read it. So these are criminal charges. These are not civil charges. So criminal charges mean, you know, this is a crime. He committed a crime according to the police. So he needs to prove that he didn't commit any crime. And that is what he is about to embark on. He needs to prove that he didn't commit a crime. And a crime, obviously, you know, when you commit a crime, when you're found guilty, you get sentenced, you go to jail. For what? For covering. Let's read the second statement. It says the court case, this is what he is saying from the statement that he released today. The court case I am facing is related to circumstances surrounding my father, and I need to be fully committed to preparation and engagement with the case and work closely with my lawyers in defending this charge. In a statement made on Sunday, Houston said he made the decision after consulting with the church's leadership and legal counsel. He said the Hillsong Global Board feel it is in my and the church's best interest for this to happen. So I have agreed to step aside from all ministry responsibilities until the end of the year. That is if he is not found guilty, because if he is found guilty, obviously that would affect, even if he doesn't go to jail, but chances are if he's found guilty, he will go to jail. So he's not going to continue at the end of the year. And if he's found guilty but didn't go to jail or whatever, he's still going to affect the brand. Again, this is something that happened in 1970 and in the 70s rather, and he wasn't directly involved. He wasn't him that committed those criminal charges, the first one. The criminal charges against him now is because he failed to report his father appropriately. He failed to give some information. People, I don't care what you think about it. You cannot blame the the Australian government or the Australian police. That is the right way for society to function, not like we see across Africa, where a church pastor or a bishop or a prophet can get away with anything. They've been chasing him since the 90s. Finally, they got him to stand trial. It's not left for him to go before the judge and defend himself. Is he guilty? No. He is not guilty until there is a proof, until there is a sentence that he is guilty. So we have to be careful who we defend. This is his father we're talking about. His father actually passed away in 2004. So he's not like his father is still alive. No. The father who allegedly committed this crime passed away in 2004. But that didn't stop the Australian police from investigating. And you see, that's the way it works. Because justice, if the father and Brian Houston actually did what they are told they did, then justice need to take its course. But in Africa, we've forgotten how justice is. In churches, you will see a pastor or a bishop doing stuff to children or to women, and then we would just say, no, just give it to the Lord, or we just deal with it in the church and you don't. It's criminal for you to not report those kind of incidences to the police. It's criminal. And don't begin to bring biblical scriptures and trying to cover them up and trying to make it look like, is he the only man of God? Without the bishop, God will still have his way. Without the prophet, God will still move. He will still heal people. But we must be careful that we don't cover sin. I'm not saying Brian Houston covered the sins of his father, because right now I don't know what the truth is. That's why they have to go on trial. They have to go to court and try to, he has to try to prove that he didn't hide anything. And it's definitely going to be on headlines. Once the trial starts, it's going to be in the news every single day because of the Hillsong brand. In the US and across Australia, a lot of celebrities, Justin Bieber and all these guys, basketballers, musicians, they go to Hillsong. But the sad thing is, in the last 2 years, Hillsong Church in itself, especially in the US, they've been facing one scandal after another scandal with their pastors, getting involved with other women, married pastors. The pastor in New York, they had to kick them out and all that. So now the founder of the church, who is the leader of the global Hillsong Church, has stepped down. They've asked Phil Dooley, who is the pastor, and his wife, they're the pastors of Hillsong Church in Cape Town. They've asked them to step in for him in the interim. They're also Australians. By the way, Brian Houston is not Australian. He's New Zealander. He's originally from New Zealand. We have to be careful what we defend. The people that we love, are we going to say the truth, or are we going to defend them and defend their crime, defend their wrongs? And it's something for us to really, really think about. Skinner here is saying, what makes it serious is that he covered it up for so many years. Indeed. And please don't come here. People, you know what the thing with Christians, they will come back and say, this is Satan now trying to get him. Forget it. This has nothing to do with Satan. This has everything to do with God trying to bring the truth out. Whether the truth is what the police is saying, we're going to see. Whether the truth is what Brian Houston is saying, we're going to see that. It is very simple. Because you see, the thing is, in churches, especially in Africa, we cover up everything. The pastor would steal money, we would cover it up. The pastor will fake a miracle, we'll cover it up. The pastor would go out with this woman and this woman and this girl and that girl who would cover it up. The pastor would go out and lie here and lie there. Who would cover it up? We keep covering it up. You are an accomplice. And that's why Brian Houston is being charged. He's an accomplice. And I like the Australian government and nations like that. There's no place to hide. They don't care how anointed you are. They don't care how big your church is. They don't care how many people come to your church. They don't care how much money you have. They don't care how much influence you have. Go to court and defend yourself. Everyone is equal before the law. In Africa, we don't experience a lot of that, isn't it? Equality before the law? No. It's like Animal Farm Africa. All animals are equal, that's what they say, but some are more equal than others. Miriam made a statement here. She said, imagine, he has stepped down even though it's all because of his father. The many pastors I have heard of being accused of the same themselves will rather rot between church and court. Exactly. He stepped down, and that is what leadership is. Step down. Without Brian Houston, you think Hillsong Church is not going to continue? It will continue. Without Brian Houston, you think that God is still not going to bless people, heal people, encourage people, and inspire people? It's still going to continue. Even without Hillsong on this planet, the church will march on. So don't ever think you are indispensable. No. Don't ever think you are God's number one. And that's what we see a lot of these charlatans and false prophets. That's how they position themselves. It's like without them, nothing moves. Without them, God is not going to move. Without them, there's no healing that is going to happen. Without them, there is no degree of inspiration or encouragement that is going to come from God. Without them, God is not going to speak. Liars. Bunch of liars. Karen Frank says you are speaking truth. Dr. Natasha says this is good news. Indeed. And we pray. My first prayer is, I hope he's not going to be found guilty. I hope what he said is the truth. Right? That's my first prayer. Alan here is asking questions. He's saying, Brasol, just for clarity, does it mean Brian Houston is not accused of playing around? No, he's not accused of playing around with boys. It isn't him. It was his father who was not just accused, but was found guilty. In the 70s, he did that to boys. And in the 90s, he came out. He actually had to be excommunicated by the Assemblies of God Church. He was working also with Hillsong, and his son had to fire him. So Brian Houston has nothing like that. It was his father. But how he got involved was he knew certain information, but he never disclosed to the police. And that's where the problem is. And it's a crime to do that. And it's fair. Don't think it's not fair. It's fair. Rachel says, this act of stepping down is the standard we need to embrace for Africa. These are the models we need to uphold. Indeed, from our political landscape to our spiritual landscape to our business landscape, we need to embrace that. If you are a pastor, a prophet, an apostle, a bishop, you are taught to have lied somewhere, there's a charge against you, step down. You're going to court, somebody like Bushiri who was going to court and still leading the church. You know that he's a charlatan because there's no right thinking, Bible believing leader that would be going to court for serious charges like Bushiri's, and still continue as a leader. There's no right thinking person whose building came down and people passed away like TB Joshua's, and there's a court case against your enterprise, and you still continue to lead. You need to step down. Like Bishop Zondo here in South Africa, you cannot just continue. You're going to church and you're going to court on trial, and you're still, on Sunday, you go to the pulpit. No, it's not a do or die affair, please. It's a church of God, it's not your church. But what these people who are refusing to step down are telling us is the church belongs to them, not to God. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Any leader that you see faces such serious allegations and refuse to step down, he is clearly telling you the church is mine. The church is not God's. Because he doesn't even trust God enough to say, I need to step down and put other leaders, but I'm sure God will continue with his work. No, 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 no. He cannot do that. Alan says, wow, the Australian government is strict. Yeah, they are strict because they want justice for everybody, no matter how rich you are, how poor you are, how anointed you are, how influential you are, all the same. So for Brian Houston to not give certain information, he's obstructing justice, and because you remember he gave an affidavit, and you give an affidavit under oath. And when you wrote an affidavit, you put everything there. When his father was going through his own trial, he did it under oath. But then they discovered later that there are certain information that he didn't put in the affidavit, and he did that affidavit under oath. And they are convinced that he was aware of this, but now he's saying, no, I wasn't aware of it, or that was not how I did it. So obviously, they will now need to go to court. So people, we must encourage our leaders, Bereans, we must encourage our leaders to make sure that they step down. When there is any sort of allegations or whatever, step down. The church is not yours. It's not yours. You're not the Alpha and Omega. You're not God. The church will go on with or without you. And we must make sure we are careful who we defend. We must make sure we say the truth about any leader, the one that we know. Not because we want to destroy them. No, no, no. Because we want transparency and justice. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and also share the video. Check out other videos that we have right here. And don't forget to visit unclesolomon.com. God bless you. Shalom.